and welcome, my friends, to the first episode of Alakazam's Reading Rambles. This is a video series where I shall, in my own free time, read some books. I enjoy books and literature. It's a really good way to slow down my mind and relax, and as well as have fun and explore different worlds. Besides character role plays and video games, it's good to just dive into a good book. So I thought I would share my thoughts on these books with you all. And hopefully, you enjoy. And you are able to relax, just like I did. Now, the book in question is called The Leftovers by Perrotta. This book is only a few hundred pages long, but it's a very thought-provoking book. You see, The Leftovers, besides being a few hundred pages long, really asks you a lot of questions that are really good because they apply different from each reader to each reader. No individual would react to the events in this book the same, and that's what makes it so interesting. So, sit back and relax as you see some visual magic of me displaying the book in the background of the video, and I will explain to you the plot of The Leftovers by Perrotta in Alakazam's Reading Rambles. Please enjoy, my friends. Now, The Leftovers by Perrotta. The plot is as follows. Mysteriously, one day, the human race is changed forever. A mysterious event happens. A massive population of the planet mysteriously vanishes, with no trace. Half the population just simply disappears. And there's no explanation. We can't tell if this is some kind of spiritual or divine reckoning, some kind of biological event, cosmic, unknown entity. We simply don't know. What would happen if one day you were going about your normal life and half the world simply ceased to be? And that's the thought-provoking question behind The Leftovers. It follows a selection of characters as they react to such a devastating event across the planet. This evokes themes of religion, as well as acceptance, as well as loss. Every character in this book and the world itself reacts differently. Some characters who would take a religious approach to this event are left confused as well, because people of different religious faiths all disappeared at the same time. Christians, Muslims, Sikhs, Buddhists, Mormons, people of all religions vanished at the same time, as well as regular people who may not have had a particular faith. So, spiritual and religious people are left confused. What could this mean? Is it a sign from the divine? Is it intervention? Or is it something else? Other people who just see it as a strange event are left perplexed. What could this mean? There's got to be a scientific explanation. How could half the world disappear without a trace and we have no idea what happened? It's this mystery that drives The Leftovers and its plot, and it really makes it fascinating. It really puts you in that mindset. How would you react if half the world simply vanished with no explanation? Would you even want to know the answer? Or perhaps you would wish to just let the mystery be? That is the question that The Leftovers is rather clever in showing you. Or perhaps not. Now, The Leftovers by Perrotta follows a select few characters with interesting backstories. Essentially, one of the main characters is a man called Kevin Garvey, who is the mayor of a small town. Kevin Garvey serves a very good role. Ironically enough, Kevin Garvey is the mayor of the town, and yet he's the perfect everyman. Despite being in this prominent position of power, Kevin is pretty much the kind of guy that wants to go about life like nothing ever happened. Just go on with your life. Despite being in this position of power, Kevin doesn't really know what to make of things. What did it all mean? Why did particular people vanish? He simply doesn't know. And that's what drives Kevin Garvey's character, is simply not knowing, figuring it out and going on with life. However, his life is a mess. He lives at home. His biological daughter stays at home with him, but she has grown more and more estranged from her father due to coming into her teenage years, and she's becoming more and more rebellious. While they both love each other, Kevin and Jill, there's a growing sense of distance between the two. This is because of two factors. One is because of Jill's best friend, Amy. While not biologically related to Kevin, she is Jill's best friend, and her presence staying in the home of Kevin and Jill is welcomed. It brings home a closer sense of family, but it comes with complications because it drives home the fact that there is a big absence in the house. There are two people missing. In Kevin's house, he also has a son, but his son is missing, but he did not vanish. After the so-called rapture, Kevin's son, Tom, simply goes away. Why Tom goes away is because he joins a cult called the Cult of Holy Wayne, a mysterious individual who can hug people and absolve them of all their sorrow, pain, and suffering. And Tom joins this cult because of this almost mystical, otherworldly power. But unfortunately, Tom discovers that the cult is much more sinister than he was led on to believe. And it teases the idea of Tom coming back home with his father and sister. It's how life goes on. It goes beyond explanation. People go about life in their own individual ways. Sometimes it negatively affects people, and sometimes people just need to go on their own path. And that's what makes The Leftovers so interesting. The interactions in this book are very human. Sometimes there are illogical decisions made, things where you're thinking, that doesn't really make much sense. But with the way the character explains it, they know that they don't really know what they're doing. And that's kind of what life is all about. We kind of don't have a concrete plan for everything. We just go through the motions and occasionally make big, dramatic decisions. And Tom regrets his in joining the Cult of Holy Wayne. And so it follows him as he goes across the country, realizing how much of his life has changed joining this cult. Considering staying on despite not believing in the beliefs of the cult, while also wondering how life is back home with Kevin, Jill, and unbeknownst to him, Amy. Also a significant character in The Leftovers is a woman called Nora Durst, who is a famous figure, but for the wrong reasons. She is famous because when all the people on the planet disappeared, or just about all of them, she was one of the few people in the town, if not the only one, where her entire family just vanished. Not just one or two individuals, but her children and her husband. This makes Nora a very tragic figure in the public eye, and she is given sympathy and compassion. But rather than these being things that encourage her and inspire her to go upon life with no regrets, it infuriates her. She no longer wants to be seen as a victim. She wants to be seen as her own individual person, not the victim of this mysterious event of which no one can explain. So Nora is a very exciting character because she is very much, well, I'll put it in these words. She's a badass. She might be this middle-aged mom, but she's very much like, screw this. I'm just going to do what I want. I'm not going to be a victim. I'm not going to be dictated by my life decisions. I'm going to do what I want to do. But she's continually revealing this sign of weakness and vulnerability. She's so scared of what people think of her that she desperately does outrageous things to basically defy people's expectations of her. You think I should just hole up in a house and feel sorry for myself? Hell no. I'm going to take life by the reins in my own way. But she finds an inability to truly go 100% on that. Every time she tries to go to a dangerous new choice, something pulls her back, as if saying, this is too far. She's a really exciting and interesting character. But the thing about The Leftovers is it's very well written. It's well written, and it's interesting and easy to get into. The interactions and the way it is written really just helps you understand the characters' motivations or lack thereof. The characters are just people. That's the best way to describe it. It's just regular people put in this mysterious and bizarre situation. And I really admire it for that. Everyone goes about their own path, and they're constantly questioning, is this some kind of test from a divine entity? Something that simply cannot be explained? Who am I? Am I a bad or good person for how I react to this? Everyone is affected differently from this cataclysmic event, and that is what shapes the story of The Leftovers. Not everyone is gone, but what does that mean? Did they leave for a reason? Are they even truly gone? Will they return one day? And, interestingly enough, it makes the characters that are left behind in the world think, why did they go? Certain characters fixate on the last person they saw, and other people they will never meet again. Why do I remember this individual so much, even if I wasn't very close to them? Why can I remember so many details about a person I paid no attention to when they were around? You get strange fixations on things in life that defy expectation. On a humorous note, for example, Nora explains how she watched SpongeBob with her husband and kids, and she grew rather fond of SpongeBob. There's a page and a half full of dialogue in this book that is literally just talking about SpongeBob and why she likes it, and also why her husband didn't like it, and he had some very, let's just say the choice words that I can't say on this channel. And it also reveals that despite the fact that people vanished across the earth, it doesn't mean that the people that vanished were all good or bad. It was both. Nora has this very optimistic idea placed upon her. She lost her whole family. How tragic. But then Nora recalls stories of how she actually had things about her family that she despised, particularly her husband. There are things she resents about her husband, and taking solace in things as simple as watching an episode of SpongeBob for her kids. It becomes her coping mechanism. She watches this goofy and silly little cartoon to feel close to a child that she lost. It's really touching. The strange little ways that people cope with something that you just can't comprehend. Kevin goes on with his job as mayor just because he needs something to do. He's driven by duty and purpose and love for his daughter, but he's unable to truly express it. Jill is going through her teenage years, trying to discover who she really is, or rather, if there's a point to it all. And Tom is across the country, trying to discover if the cult of Holy Wayne has something to it, perhaps is connected to the so-called rapture. Or perhaps he's wasting his time and he should be back home. These are all interesting questions. And then the event of the rapture causes another organization to rise. This organization, or cult if you will, is called the Guilty Remnant. Now, truth be told, I'm not very fond of this faction called the Guilty Remnant personally. The Guilty Remnant, I won't spoil anything, but I think it was the writer's intention. The Guilty Remnant was all about pessimism. There's no meaning to it all. We're all going to fade away one day. So just stare into the face of the inevitable. Don't be afraid. It's gonna happen. And the plot development is that Kevin Garvey's wife has joined this cult, or faction, whichever one you consider it. This explains the gap in Kevin's household. It explains why he's grown so distant that his son has left the home. His daughter is estranged from him because she connected better with the mother, and how Amy has moved in. This absence of the mother in the household, joining a cult, which is barely even a block away, really brings forth some interesting questions. Why would a woman abandon her entire life to join this cult that only was created after such a terrible event? The book explores all these concepts, and while I'm not particularly fond, I don't quite like the Guilty Remnant, I understand the role it was trying to place. Everyone has their own coping mechanism for something so bad, and that was just one way of doing it. But you get to see the mindset of not only one but two different factions responding to the rapture, the event, if you will. With a balance of different characters, when I was reading The Leftovers, I didn't really feel scatterbrained. While I feel scatterbrained in my normal life, when I was reading this book, I never really felt like I was getting into the story. Oh, I've been pulled away. I was actually exploring these different characters and enjoying it, because I went, oh, there's Kevin. Oh, there's Jill. Oh, there's Tom. There's Nora. They're all reacting to the same thing that happened years ago. And because of that universal event they are all reacting to, it makes it really easy to go from one character to the next. And I think that's really skillful writing. And the ending of the book might come as anticlimactic to some people, but I think it's perfect, because I won't spoil anything, but the ending is rather realistic, because it gives you more questions, but doesn't necessarily give you the answers. Because the ultimate mystery of The Leftovers is, do you want to know the answers? Perhaps you should just let the mystery be. Are people gone forever? Have they just vanished to an other side of existence? Or are they still with you? You may never know. So should you spend the rest of your life trying to find the answer, or move on? And that's where the name, The Leftovers, comes from. Are the leftovers the people left on Earth? Or were the people who vanished not leftovers, people taken, but the people who were selected for something greater? It's an interesting book because it covers the idea of spirituality, but also science. Some people will view the event with a religious and spiritual thought of view. Others simply pragmatic. What happened? Do I want to understand this? Do I really want to know? And it really makes for fun reading. Jill is very written as a teenage character. The way she goes about her life, trying to enjoy herself, but also feeling jaded and unsure what to do with her life. Kevin being the everyman, growing ever so distant from his family, and trying anything to fill the void. Tom, with the realization that he has joined a cult that he no longer believes in, and finding something different to believe in another individual who he travels across the country with. Nora, who is very much the woman who refuses to be deemed a victim of the event. And Lori, Kevin's wife, who joins the guilty remnant, directly responding to the event, declaring it part of the truth of the world. All of these questions are really fascinating, and if you're very easy to provoke your thoughts from, I fully recommend The Leftovers. I never really felt like, even though this was a couple of 100 pages, it was just satisfying to read. If you're wanting a straightforward, like, this story has this point, and it gets a dramatic moment, and then a big dramatic ending, this book might not be for you. But if you really like to think about character motivations and what you would do in individual situations, as well as slice of life in a dark time, I think The Leftovers suits you. It's not a big dramatic or action-oriented book. It's simply people going about their lives in the aftermath of something unimaginable. And that is The Leftovers by Tom Perrotta. I really enjoyed this book. I really did. And I borrowed this from the local library. That's why in the thumbnail I have put Library Edition in the thumbnail. Because I want to encourage people. You know, in most countries in the world, the library is free access. And I encourage people to go and support them. The book that you saw on camera earlier wasn't my book, but borrowed from the local library. And after recording this video with the footage and narration, it has been returned for someone else to enjoy. I think there's something beautiful about that. Everyone just being able to go into these different worlds and explore these stories through books. And that's why I decided to make this series of Alakazam's Reading Rambles. Much less informal and more me just talking about the things that the book brought out of my mind. I really enjoyed the adventure, if you will, of everyday life, with the added twist of something unusual happening. And so, it draws to a close. I fully recommend The Leftovers by Tom Perrotta. It's a magnificent book. It was also adapted into a TV series by Damon Lindelof, who is famous for creating the TV series Lost. And he really thrives when he makes the TV series because he really dives into the mystery aspect of the book. While it is more outlandish and fantastical than the book, both the TV series and the book are separate entities, so try not to compare them to each other. They're both magnificent pieces of media. The Leftovers TV show features some of the greatest acting I've ever seen in a TV show, with really interesting plot lines and characters that are not in the book. Whereas the book is more condensed into a few select characters, but really dives into their motivations. I fully recommend checking out The Leftovers by Tom Perrotta, either the book that you see before you, or perhaps the TV series. Now, we draw to a close the first episode of Alakazam's Reading Rambles. If you enjoyed this reading ramble, please feel free to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. I enjoyed sharing this book with you all, my friends, and as I return this book to the library, I have some ideas for the next book I'm going to read. The way I read my books, I don't focus on a single genre exclusively. Just like when I play games, watch TV, movies, anime, you name it, I like a little bit of everything, because I feel like there's good to be found in everything. And so, we draw to a close the first episode of Alakazam's Reading Rambles. Thank you very much for your time. Feel free at the end of this video. I'm going to make Alakazam's Reading Rambles a series. Every time I read a book, whether it is from borrowing it from the library or my own personal collection, I'll make sure to state that in the thumbnail and description of each video to encourage people to buy and read books. It's a really relaxing experience, as well as visit their local library. These places are wonderful and a treasure trove of free information, fun, and adventure. But so, we finally say bye to The Leftovers by Tom Perrotta. I fully recommend it. And I hope you, my friends, each and every single one of you, have enjoyed the first reading ramble by myself, Alakazam ASMR. I hope you enjoyed these peaceful pages. Please take care of yourself, my friends, and let me know, did you read the book? Or did you just like me rambling about it? Either way, it's a different kind of content for you to enjoy. And I hope you have a wonderful time, no matter who you are or where you are. Turn the pages, and I'll see you next time on the next episode of Alakazam's Reading Rambles. Take care, my friends. I love you all. And adios, my friends.